Happy December, folks, and welcome to episode 366 of #AskGSM here today for Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. A few things to kick off the show here. First and foremost, we found out this morning, just a couple of hours ago from when I'm recording this, that Pat Patterson actually passed away. I think either today or late last night at the age of 79. I had seen somewhere, I believe he had cancer. I can't confirm that. I'd only seen one person say that, so I'm not sure if that's legitimate or not. But either way, he has since passed, and it's super sad. I just actually had the chance to meet him about a year and a half ago in May of 2019, the day before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view here in Hartford, Connecticut. I don't live in Hartford, but I do live in Connecticut, and they had the pay-per-view, a rare WWE pay-per-view here in Connecticut. And Pat Patterson was doing a meet and greet the day before in Hartford, the site of Money in the Bank that May. And it was a free meet and greet. You didn't have to pay to get in or anything. I just had to get there, so I had to take like an Uber to get there and everything. But it was well worth it. I knew when I saw, I think it was like the day before, I just saw it like by chance. And usually I like go to a website to see what upcoming signings there are and stuff like that. I had only seen the Pat Patterson signing like on the WWE Universe Twitter account, an advertisement for it, like literally the day before. I may have seen it like Friday afternoon. He was there Saturday afternoon, so I had to like plan around it. Ended up going, met him. Absolutely amazing experience. Took a while to get there, took a while to wait in line, but it was well worth it in the end. Had a picture with him, I got a chance to have him sign my replica Intercontinental Championship, which, I mean, how could I not? I mean, is the first ever Intercontinental Champion, which is why I went for the most part. First of all, I read his book a couple of years ago. We all know what a legend and what a great guy Pat Patterson is. But in reading his book, you really get an extra level of appreciation for Patterson and knowing what he went through. And not only about like his sexuality and stuff like that and coming out and kind of having to live with that, that truth that he didn't want to really come out with until Legends House about 5-6 years ago. But everything, his upbringing, the rough upbringing that he endured, I don't know if he ended up getting married to him, but his old boyfriend, I think it was his husband, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was just someone that he really, really loved who ended up passing away a long time ago. So yeah, really, really great stuff is the book. I implore everyone to check it out. So I had a chance to tell him how much the book meant to me, how great he is. One of the greatest minds in wrestling history has unfortunately since left us. So rest in peace, Pat Patterson. And I was very happy to get a chance to be able to meet you about a year and a half ago. And again, what other opportunity would I have ever had to meet Pat Patterson? Like, even if you work for the company, at what point would you ever get to meet Pat Patterson and have a chance to take a picture with him and have him sign anything, let alone my replica Intercontinental Championship, So I thought that was really cool, and it really sucks because I've been having this, my Intercontinental Championship tour type thing where I have people, the former champions, sign my title, and I've had well over, maybe 30 people sign up by this point. And no one who has signed it in the last 3 years has passed away. And that was always one of my biggest fears. Obviously, it was inevitable. But it really, really, really sucks that Pat Patterson had to be the first. And being the first ever champion as well. But only 79 years old, I believe. So I thought that was really sad. And even more sad is the fact that you look at the cast of Legends House from about 5-6 years ago that I just mentioned. And 4 of the 8 people that were on that show have also passed away. Pat Patterson, Howard Finkel died earlier this year, also very sad. Another guy I had the chance to meet, I think actually 3 years ago. I met him in 2017. He was, I think, the first person I'd ever met that actually passed away. So he was the first one. But yeah, Pat Patterson, Howard Finkel's gone. Mean Gene passed in early 2019. And obviously we lost Roddy Piper in August of 2015. So again, rest in peace, Pat Patterson. You will be greatly missed. Before we go on here to the questions for hashtag, one quick thing I got to plug here. That being the 2020 Year in Review WWE NXT and AEW Awards. So for the very first time, you can vote on WWE NXT, which have been a part of the Year in Review Awards since like 2014. I've been doing it since 2013. That first year was WWE and TNA, and that was back when TNA was still relevant. And then by 2014, I was like, fuck it, I'm taking TNA out of here. So, and it's been NXT since that point. I'm adding an AEW because they had a full year, and they've had a show going all year, multiple pay-per-views, so it only makes sense. So I threw in AEW there. There's a lot more categories than usual on WrestleRant.com. It's probably best that I mention where you can vote on the damn thing, but go to the homepage, scroll down, click on the link that says 2020 WWE/NXT/AEW Year in Review Awards. Vote now. and do just that. Vote right now. The polls will close at the end of December. When you go to the page, the polls won't pop up immediately because I am using a different technology for the polls this year compared to what I've used in years past, because that technology is no longer available. So the format's a bit different. I was going to make it look aesthetically better, like I was going to use images and stuff like that, but there was like a glitch in the technology. Again, it's relatively new, and I didn't want to take any risks and whatnot, so I just kind of kept it pretty basic with what the polls look like this year. No pictures. But there are many, many categories. Obviously, match of the year. I did a men's match of the year, female match of the year for both companies, not like 4 different polls, but like a men's match for WWE, NXT, and AEW, and then a women's match for WWE, NXT, and AEW. All of that is there. Superstar of the year, wrestler of the year, whatever. Shocking moment of the year, feud of the year, tag team of the year, both from WWE and AEW, because there's so many tag teams in AEW that I kind of felt compelled to do 2 different polls. Even though there's not a lot of WWE tag teams, you'll see that in the poll. Not a great year for tag team wrestling in WWE. But yeah, there's a lot of polls to vote on. You can only vote once. And the results, usually you can view them right after you vote. Not this year, though. With the new technology that we're using, you can't view the results until we break them down on WrestleRant Radio, which just so happens to fall this year on New Year's Eve. So it's going to be dropping on December 31st. The polls will close at midnight on December 30th. So the 29th going into the 30th is when the polls are going to close. So I have enough time to record the episode, break down the results, and blah, 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 and kind of retrieve the results from the website. So go vote on those right now on WrestleRant.com. Again, scroll to the middle of the homepage right underneath the thumbnails at the beginning of the page. And right there you will see a link to the 2020 WWE NXT WWE/NXT/AEW Year in Review Awards. If you want to send in a question to this show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Leave a question in the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, and I apologize, I forgot to put it up last night. But again, if it's not up, if the post isn't up, again, like I always say, you can always drop a question. If it has to be through Facebook, on the wall, on the Facebook wall, did they even still call it that, Facebook walls? On the page itself, I'm pretty sure you could drop the question there. If not, I apologize. But I'm pretty sure if you absolutely wanted to send in the question through there, you can do it that way. If the post isn't up, and usually I put it up, but sometimes I forget, like this year. Or like, not this year, this time around. But you can also send in a question through YouTube if you would like to do that, if you want the longer format, as people have done in the past. By just dropping your question right down below on this very video, I'll include your question in next week's edition. So let's get started here first from No Laura. Speaking of YouTube, we'll start with their question. Top 5 Christmas movies to watch since it's the first week of December next week, and they sent that in last week. I've talked about this before. We had a lot of Christmas-related questions last year, and rightfully so. I mean, you can never talk too much about Christmas, of course. But as far as top 5 movies to watch, A Christmas Story is not one of them. I've always found that movie to be incredibly overrated, and I've seen probably not all of it, but most of it. Just not my cup of tea. I really just don't care for A Christmas Story, and that might be a popular opinion. I'm not sure. But I've always seen people rave over the movie and like the leg lamp. I always thought that was dumb. But likewise, people might find The Grinch dumb, the 2000 version with Jim Carrey. That's an incredible film. I absolutely love that. It is the movie I watch on Christmas every single year, on Christmas Day itself. That has got to be my number 1, so definitely watch that. Home Alone, I watched that the other day. Either 1 or 2, obviously both, but if I had to choose one, probably the first one, but the second one is great too. 3, 4, and I think there's a 5th. They're all fucking terrible, so I don't watch those. Man, I actually watched a Christmas movie a day every day last year in the month of December leading up to Christmas, and it was a lot. I'm not doing that again this year, but Home Alone, what were the other? Obviously, Christmas Vacation. That would have to be my top 5. That's another amazing film. The Santa Claus, again, any of the 3, preferably the first one, but all 3 of them are very good, I think. The Tim Allen movies from the late 90s and early 2000s, those are great films too. The Mick Foley Santa Claus documentary that came out years ago, those are very, very good. Be sure to check those out. Office Christmas Party, which came out a couple of years ago, I thought that was really entertaining. Definitely different than the other films, but that's a really, really good one as well. Man, I'm sure there's way more I'm not thinking of. The new Grinch movie, I think that's on Netflix. That's a really, really good one. Fred Claus is a good movie. That came out about 10, 15 years ago. That was a good one. Elf, that's another obvious one. That's a great movie. There's probably more I'm not thinking of, but those are the ones that initially kind of come to my head. So check out all those Christmas movies in the remainder of the month of December. So we move now to the Twitter questions. First from @Reborn again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine and the YouTube machine. Check out his show, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Puts up great content every single day. His question was, should WWE stop having a pay-per-view in December and just focus on the TV between Survivor Series and the Rumble? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's completely pointless. And I've said this before, not only with the month of December, but the same goes for February. I fucking hate when we get a pay-per-view in between WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, or the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, rather. It just makes no sense. You don't need... How many February pay-per-views have we gotten in the last decade that were worth watching at all in the month of February? I'll wait, because I can't think of any. I think of No Way Out 2001. I thought that was an incredible show. I enjoyed Elimination Chamber 2011. That's not an all-time great pay-per-view. That's just one I personally enjoyed. But like other than those, I can't think of many, if any, great February pay-per-views. Like the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view in Fastlane, which was a February staple for a while. Some of the shows have been better than others. None of them have been imperative to the point where we absolutely need a February pay-per-view or a December pay-per-view. The same goes for December. I like TLC. I like TLC as a year-end pay-per-view. But really, a lot of those matches don't need the TLC stipulations. Chairs, stairs, not the fucking stairs, God forbid. Chairs, ladders, tables, and TLC, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you could just do that shit on TV. Make the month of December more meaningful for Raw and SmackDown. You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe a pay-per-view or two between SummerSlam and Survivor Series is fine. And we got that this year with Clash of Champions and Hell in a Cell. That's okay. Or, WrestleMania, but in SummerSlam. I think we get like 4. We get like Money in the Bank, the June pay-per-view, a July one, and then a Saudi show. You probably only need 2, 1 or 2. 1 in June, I think, would make sense. But yeah, to go back to your original question, we do not need a December pay-per-view. It's completely pointless. And I think this year's, although TLC has become one of my favorite shows of the year, not on the top of the list, but I enjoy the event more often than not, it's not necessary. You could do a lot of those matches on Raw and SmackDown and really build them up to be important year-end shows. Like SmackDown. SmackDown had that amazing, what was it called, a wild card show? The final SmackDown of 2016. I think it was like AJ, Dolph, and Corbin for the WWE title. The return of John Cena. Becky and Alexa Bliss for the SmackDown title. American Alpha winning the SmackDown tag team titles on that final SmackDown of 2016. It was in Chicago. It was one of my favorite SmackDowns of all time. That's what you need to do. Build up a show like that. Where it's a pay-per-view worthy show on free TV. They need to be doing more of that and less pay-per-views that mean absolutely nothing. His next question, do you think WWE will be able to have a crowd for the Rumble? More importantly, should they? So I saw the report from @WrestleVotes, and they were saying that WWE, it's like a very important time for them right now in the sense that they're trying to determine if they're going to have fans. Obviously, don't do it if it's not safe. And right now, the pandemic is worse than it has been at any other point. In this country, at least. So I would say probably not. I think that might be a little too soon. Selfishly, of course, I would want people there for the Rumble, obviously. But it would have to be done safely. And the idea that we would just completely lambast WWE over the fact, oh my God, how could you have people, blah, blah, blah. Almost every other company right now, I can't say every other company, because Ring of Honor is not, Impact isn't, and other promotions as well. But specifically NXT, NXT has people in the audience. There hasn't been a lot of complaints about that from people, there are actual fans there, not just the wrestlers. A lot of whom I would have to assume had COVID earlier on in the year with all the outbreaks they had in NXT and whatnot. I mean, and they're having fans there, which is fine, but it's not a very big arena, and I'm sure they're doing it safely, but like they were doing it safely before this and they had COVID outbreaks, so. AEW isn't as bad. AEW does have a lot of people there, but they are all spread out, but like, it's the same principle. If AEW can do it safely, no one's going to complain about that, then why can't WWE? I think WrestleMania would be a better bet if it's in a bigger arena, more people are spread out. It won't be the same crowd that we got at the Rumble this year, but it's better than no people. I think it's better than the Thunderdome, and I've enjoyed the Thunderdome. It's exceeded expectations. It served its purpose. At the same time, though, I think having some fans there, even if it's in an 80,000 person arena and you have 5,000 people there spread out, I think that would be better than nothing. And aesthetically, it would also look good. So For the Rumble, it would have to be the right arena, and it would have to be done safely. Otherwise, no, and I would wait probably until WrestleMania, until this thing hopefully gets better in the next 3 to 4 months. But I don't think it's an absolute, open and shut case where it's like, it's not safe to do it. Why would the company do that? They're so stupid for even thinking of running fans. If AEW and NXT are doing it, how is the main roster any fucking different? I saw a lot of people complaining about that. And I understand rightfully so. The pandemic is terrible right now, and it's, again, worse than it has been at any other point so far in this country in 2020. But if other companies are doing it in a safe way, then why wouldn't WWE? Even with NXT, that's the same company. So again, I'm not saying there has to be fans there or that there shouldn't be fans there. If it's done safely, then fine. If they won't do it safely and it's going to be like a normal arena with regular fans, I doubt they would do that anyway. I really do. They've done a lot of dumb things this year. I don't think they would do that. So we'll see. So Shayna got pinned by Lana. Why? John asked, was his next question. Yeah, there were just a lot of dumb booking decisions on Raw this week. Between Shayna getting pinned by Lana, you had Reckoning getting pinned, Mia Yim getting pinned by Dana Brooke, Ricochet losing a fucking slapjack. Like, Jesus Christ. The overall show, honestly, wasn't really that bad. From the booking, the show was a mess in terms of a lot of how that stuff kind of came across. But I thought the main event was fine. The triple threat was good. The opening segment was, the triple threat I thought was really good, actually. The opening segment was well done. The Symphony Destruction match I thought was enjoyable. I thought it was honestly better than it had any right to be. So it wasn't a completely terrible show. But some of the booking decisions, just completely questionable, to say the least. But Shayna getting pinned by Lana completely cemented to me the fact that Shayna on the main roster has been a bust. It was pretty evident prior to that point. But you look at her main roster run in 2020. It started at the Royal Rumble. She was in the Rumble. People expected her to win. She came out at number 30, and she fucking lost. She was the last one tossed out, but she lost. Okay, fine, whatever. Charlotte wins. You can still get the Shayna and Becky at WrestleMania. They do the match at WrestleMania. She wins the Chamber, which was cool, dominant fashion, but then she fucking lost. She lost to Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch even wanted to lose. But WWE didn't want Becky to lose. Why, I have no idea. So Becky wins. Shayna loses again. I feel like the last straw for me was the Money in the Bank match. She really should have won that. And I know Asuka winning was what set her up to be the Raw Women's Champion. Shayna should have fucking won. And she fucking lost again. She lost again. She lost the Battle Royal on SmackDown to determine the number one contender. They won the tag titles. Ooh, whoop-de-doo. The tag team with Nia Jax has been a complete waste of everyone's time. They haven't produced any great matches at all. It's not like it's made her, she has a tag title. She's a success. It's been a complete bust. She's not had a great 2020 at all. She lost to Lana on Raw this week for a woman that went undefeated for a year and a half. She lost to fucking Lana on Raw. It doesn't get much worse than that. I've already talked about before about how the babyface push for Lana does absolutely nothing for me. Yeah, she's improved, but that's like saying, I don't even know. She was completely terrible, so of course she's improved. That doesn't mean she's good. Let's put it that way. Yeah, she's improved from where she was a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever. That doesn't make her a good wrestler. My issue is that there's so many other women in that division who should and could be focused on right now that just aren't in favor of Lana. Shayna is one of those women. Why aren't we getting Shayna and Asuka right now? That was a logical feud to do. The two most dominant NXT women's champions of all time, and currently they have never meant less in their time in the main roster. Shayna specifically, but also Asuka. Asuka's a complete afterthought right now as the Raw Women's Champion. Yeah, she won on Monday. She beat the tag team champions. Who gives a fuck? It was all about Lana. It wasn't about Asuka. At this point, does anyone even want to see Asuka versus Shayna Baszler? Yeah, but it wouldn't mean nearly as much as it would have if the two were still positioned importantly as important parts of this show, as important pieces of the Monday Night Raw roster. They're not. They're on the show every week, which is more than I can say for Naomi, who I know is hurt right now, but even prior to that point, she wasn't doing anything earlier this year. And other people on the Raw roster, we haven't seen Mickie James in months. At least they're on the show, but they're not anyone important, which is just criminal to me, considering how talented they are. John's last question here, non-wrestling related, but with Wonder Woman coming to both theaters and streaming at the same time, will this spell a quicker end to theater chains if the movie is a smash hit, Yeah, you've asked this question before. We've talked about this before. It could. Especially now with the pandemic getting worse, There were some theaters around me that were open. I think only one of which has since closed down. I think the other ones are still open. They're just obviously not doing many movies. They're doing like some classic stuff and whatever. But other than that, they're not really running much new stuff, so I can't imagine they're doing much business, especially at a time where a lot of people don't want to go out to a public setting like a movie theater. But yeah, I think it could. I mean, there's a lot of, I think didn't Regal close down earlier this year? I haven't heard anything else on AMC. I heard AMC might be in trouble, but I've heard nothing else about that. I think the AMC theaters around here are still open. Cinemark, I think, is still open for now. But it could. The fact that the movie is coming to both theaters and streaming services is cool, because for people that don't want to go out, they can just, like, it comes out on Christmas. People get, money on Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Just dish out the $30 or whatever it is for the movie, and there you go. I think a lot more people will want to watch it on HBO Max than go to the theaters and watch it. But it could. I mean, it really is a matter of how long this pandemic stretches out for, regardless of when we get the vaccine or not. Even when that shit comes out, will people still feel comfortable enough to go back to movie theaters and sell those places out? I think those days might be behind us. It could happen again down the road. Will it happen anytime soon? It probably won't, to be honest with you. It probably won't. So it sucks, but yeah, it absolutely could. I'm not saying it will, but there's a very good chance that the days of, like, for example, Avengers selling out and breaking records and stuff could be over. Could be over. There's a very good chance of that happening, just given the current circumstances and how people are kind of reacting to it, and again, rightfully so. So we'll see, and the fact this whole thing has gone on for as long as it has really hurt movie theaters, because if it was over in a month or whatever, then okay, sure, we'll go out and blah, blah, blah. But it's gone on for a while. It will continue to go on for a while. It's not going away anytime soon, at least not fully. So the movie theaters are really in trouble, and it sucks. As a big movie theater guy, it's a real shame to see. But hopefully they can kind of recoup, battle back, and figure out something to stay in business, because I think movie theaters being a thing of the past completely would be a real shame. At RJ_Marceau, Mr. Marceau's question was, I think he's got a second one coming up later in the episode. Yeah, he does. But his first one was, and I haven't made the spreadsheet yet of the questions. I'm just kind of going off my Twitter favorites here. So if I miss one, or if they're not in order, I apologize. But his first question was, which wrestlers, male and female, were before their time and could really flourish in their respective divisions in 2020? Man, I don't like answering questions like this, just because, I mean, what does that even mean? Yeah, who was before their time? I really, I don't know, honestly. There's not many people that really, like, oh, this person would have flourished in 2020. There's people like today that I think if you put them back in, like, the Attitude Era might have done well. As far as people that were around, like, in the early 2000s or in the mid 2000s, man, I think Jamie Noble, I mean, that's a really random answer. I'm thinking of, like, really good wrestlers that could have gotten more of a shot today than they did 10, 15 years ago. Jamie Noble was one of them. Gail Kim, absolutely. RJ's going to love that answer. But Gail Kim definitely, because she was really, really good. And obviously we got to see that in TNA. And she's since retired. But, she came up at a time where women's wrestling was not focused on at all. At all. And yeah, she was like, I think she won the women's title in her debut on Raw. She may have won it again. I don't remember. But she is a former WWE Women's Champion. But she came in. She had that initial title run. And that was it. She was never focused on again after that. She left to go to TNA, reinvented herself, had this great career, came back to WWE, and then no one cared at all. She had a completely less than stellar run, not because of her, but because of how the women were booked. She was ahead of her time. Awesome Kong, I think, is another one, because when she came in, she was great. And I think the issue with Kong wasn't really a WWE thing. She got pregnant. There was the miscarriage, I believe, which really sucked. That was a whole issue. And now, AEW has her, but, like, her body is so beaten up, or she has a lot of back issues, I believe. We haven't seen her since the beginning of the year. The story was that she took time off to go film Glow, but we found out months ago that Glow got canceled. So I'm not really sure where she's been or what's going on with her, or if we're going to see her again at all. She never really had any real competitive matches in this company whatsoever. I think they teased her and Aja Kong. We never got any resolution on that. They were doing the whole Nightmare Collective thing. That was a fucking bust. So I don't know. I don't really know, but when I think of people ahead of their time, Gail Kim, awesome Kong in today's age, I think would be really cool. Man, I'm trying to think of other people. I don't know. Like I said, Jamie Noble, he was the guy that after he left WWE the first time went on to Ring of Honor and had this great career and was brought back as a fucking cruiserweight. Like, come on, man. Billy Kidman probably would have gotten more of a shot. I thought Billy Kidman was really good. There's just so many people to name. From like the 80s, I think Randy Savage would have been, I mean, obviously he was perfect for that time period, but I think he would have done really well for himself even in the Attitude Era in WWE or in the early 2000s. Benoit and Eddie as well. Obviously, they flourished at their time period, but I think they would have continued to do well even in today's age, considering the emphasis on wrestling and stuff like that. I don't know. Kenny Dykstra I always was a fan of, and he never really went anywhere at all. And Maven kind of got buried. Both of those guys were good, had potential, never really went anywhere, and just were a complete bust. But had they come out in today's age, they probably would have done better. I believe so. Those are just a few of the names. I can't really think of many others. That are just obvious examples. There probably are a lot more. I just can't think of many others on the top of my head, right off the top of my head. Here on the spot. I forgot that you asked the question, otherwise I would have prepared more answers, but those are a few people. Like, for example, AJ Styles, I think came in at a perfect time. Because had he come in 15 years ago, like, oh, AJ should have been here in 05, the guy would have been fucking buried, honestly. Like, he may have done well, maybe, but, like, that was pre-Punk, pre-Bryan, and maybe he would have been the one, instead of those two, to really pave the way for indie guys to come to WWE. But, like, Samoa Joe, I don't think would have been the same. People like that. Regal, I always thought was amazing. I think he should have gotten more of a fair shake. Had he come around a couple of years later, he might have done a little better for himself as maybe a future world champion. Potentially. That's just me. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Barrett was always very good. I think he came up at the right time. They were always focusing on people like him as like, oh, he's this big guy who can talk. They just never really pushed him beyond the Nexus stuff. But yeah, those are a number of people that I could think of off the top of my head. At Iwagu91's got a bunch of questions here. First one being, do you see Kenny Omega winning the AEW World title from Jon Moxley tomorrow night? That being tonight. I do. I did see Tony Khan say, oh, Jon Moxley's not working Wrestle Kingdom. First of all, he could be working us. That could be a lie. But if he's not, and that's the truth, that doesn't mean that Jon Moxley is going to retain the title. Regardless of the whole Wrestle Kingdom thing, it's time for a change. I mean, you could do the rematch and have Omega win it then. I think now is the time. And I love Moxley, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be pissed if he retained the title tonight. I just think now is the time to do a big title change and a heavily hyped show. I mean, when else would you do a Revolution? It's in fucking like 3 months. You could do the rematch there after Omega wins and keep Moxley in chase mode, which is where I think he really thrives. You could do that. But I just feel like this is the right time to do it. And if you don't strike while the iron is hot with a guy like Kenny Omega, then what are you doing? So I think he will. If he doesn't, again, I won't be mad, but I just think now is the best time to do it. His second question, do you see Johnny Gargano regaining the NXT North American title this coming weekend at War Games? I don't actually, and I've seen some other people say, oh, what about Pat McAfee beating Leon Ruff? Because that's actually believable. You know, Pat McAfee beating a guy like fucking Gargano or Priest, that to me is a joke. But him beating Leon Ruff would make sense, and if they want to give this new faction, the Kings of NXT, I think they're calling themselves, all the gold, that would be the best way to do it. Pete Dunne could beat Finn Balor for the NXT Championship, kind of following the footsteps, mirroring the Undisputed Era. That would be the way to do it. So Leon Ruff just won the title. They've played back and forth with this thing for months now. Priest won it after Lee vacated it, and then Gargano won it, and then Ruff won it like a week later, or maybe 2 weeks later. I think it was 2 weeks later. To do another title change right now, like this weekend, I think it would be too soon. Pat McAfee can win it either at the end of the month, early next year, whatever. I feel like Priest and Gargano should cancel each other out. They can have a blow-off match at some other time. But Leon Ruff, I think, this is the perfect way for him to come out on top in a triple threat match. I think that makes perfect sense. So I think Leon Ruff retains. His second question, or third question rather, what were your thoughts on the WWE UK title being renamed into the NXT UK title this past year? I'm fine with it. I mean, I liked the WWE United Kingdom Championship, but I think this is fine just so everything is kind of the same. And I'm a big like OCD, like it all has to kind of match and whatever. We already had the NXT UK tag titles. We already had the NXT UK Women's Championship. They have the NXT UK Championship, just a straight up championship. as opposed to the WWE United Kingdom title, which hasn't been defended on the main roster in years. I'm completely fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. It just makes sense. So I wasn't really mad at that at all. I did think it was weird when they had the women's championship, like they had the NXT, the men's championship, and then they called the NXT they called the NXT women's title just the regular NXT UK championship. They were both called the NXT UK championship for like a week. And then Triple H was like, oh no, that's not what we're doing. You fucking rename the shit on the website. Either that or there was this mass miscommunication between people on the website. Even the commentators were calling the women's titles like the NXT championship. It made no fucking sense. It was stupid. That's taken it a step too far. Other than that, though, I thought the changing of the name of the title, I thought was perfectly fine. Do you see Walter surpassing Pete Dunne on becoming the longest reigning UK champion? He could. I think he's got only, 3 months left? If he can hold on to it for the next couple months, then absolutely. I don't know if they're going to still do the Finn Balor match at some point. Walter already beat Ilya, and I thought Ilya might be the one to take the belt from Walter, and he wasn't, which is fine. I think Walter being champion is great. It's the perfect role for him. He could. Will he? Honestly, he might. He probably will, because they could always do another UK title match on the show itself, but I don't know. I don't think they will. I think they might wait until they have their next takeover, which might not be until I think next April or something at this point. So yeah, I think he probably will honestly break the record in the next couple of months. And I don't know if Finn Balor's the one to take the belt off of him. He's already the NXT champion. I have no fucking clue. But yeah, he probably will. If I had to take a guess, he probably will. Which is something I never thought I would say, because Pete Dunne was champion for 2 years, and we never see that in WWE now. I mean, everyone holds a belt for a year. We see that all the time. Very rarely do people hold belts for an entire calendar year and hold it for almost 2 years. We're seeing that now with Walter, and Kaylee Ray's another one, and Gallus as well. That's pretty crazy. That is wild. And I think they're all going to hold their championships into the new year, if I had to take a guess. At E1, 3 a.m. Manuel's question was, even before any of that, he did say, to preface his question, he said, I spent the weekend in the hospital for a mouth infection. I'm still in pain when I'm not drowsy from medication, so at the risk of being needy, any words of support are appreciated. Man, mouth injuries are the absolute fucking worst. I'm glad to hear you're doing okay. Safe and speedy recovery, obviously, but mouth infections, anything involving the mouth is so fucking, it's terrible. I don't want to say it's the worst injury that you can endure. Not injury, but whatever. You know what I mean. Anything involving the mouth is not comfortable. You can't talk. It's hard to eat. It's hard to breathe sometimes. This isn't remotely the same thing, but when I had my wisdom teeth taken out about 5 years ago, it was some of the worst pain I'd ever been in. Absolutely terrible. At least for a 24-hour period. Hard to sleep, bleeding from the mouth, couldn't eat, couldn't talk. It was terrible. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't drink anything. Completely terrible. So I feel you, brother. Hopefully you're doing okay. And I'm glad you got it. I mean, it wasn't like a procedure. It was a mouth infection, you said. But, it's there's never any right time for something like that to happen. But it's better now at the start of December than during Christmas itself. So I'm glad you're doing okay. His actual question was, what's going to happen this Sunday at WWE NXT TakeOver War Games? So we got the women's War Games match. We got the men's War Games match. And then we have, what was it? What did I say before? Oh, Ruff, Gargano, and Priest for the North American title. I don't think there's any other matches announced so far. I think Ruff retains. I said that earlier. I think for the women's one, I think Team Shotzi's going to win that, because Candice has been on a roll lately. They'll probably give that one to Team Shotzi. I think the Kings of NXT are going to beat Undisputed Era. I do. I just think that makes more sense, just because Undisputed Era are probably on their way out. If they win, that's fine. I think that's cool, but they want to establish the Kings of NXT as the new, as the new top faction on the show. So them winning just kind of makes more sense. Do we have any other matches announced? I don't think so, because the tag team champions are involved in the main event, are involved in the men's War Games match. Man, I'm trying to think what else. Balor, as of right now, is not on the show. We're probably going to get Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. If we get that, Ciampa's probably going to win. Kushida might get a last-minute match, maybe. I don't know. Not really sure. But those are my early predictions, and until they announce more for the show. Maybe they have it, I'm just forgetting about it, but as far as the matches that we know for the show, that's what I expect to go down on Sunday at War Games. And as always, I expect it to be a great show. Even though the build has been incredibly rushed, I expect the show to be worthwhile. At noob_n_co1991, their first question was, do you think that Asuka and Shayna Baszler might feud, leading up to a feud between Shayna and Asuka would lead up to Ronda Rousey returning to WWE at the 2021 Royal Rumble? I'm at the point now where I feel like Ronda Rousey might indeed come back. Because the whole thing was like, oh, she's taking time off to have a baby. It's been almost 2 years, and she probably is still trying. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they're not focused on doing that right now. I have no idea. But I don't know. I just feel like enough time has passed. It's been literally almost 2 years. She has not been seen all 2021 long. She's not been seen since WrestleMania last year, in April of 2019. If she was going to come back, and I know her contract is supposed to expire next April, I assume they drag it out. I mean, they can't just the contract is up. You haven't been here for 2 years, but whatever. They signed her to a 3-year deal for a reason, so I feel like she will stick around. But honestly, I said Ronda Rousey will not wrestle all year, and it's December, so I guess I was right on that. I feel like she will be back in 2021. I'm getting the feeling that she might be back either at the Rumble or after Mania, for Mania. I don't know. I mean, especially with Becky not being around right now, and Becky, she's having the baby in December. She can be back in January. Get the fuck out of here. That is completely unrealistic. Maybe in time for WrestleMania, maybe, and more power to her, but you would think she would want to stay home with her newborn child, like most people do. And Seth is on the road, so it's not like he's home. I don't know. I don't think Becky's going to be back for a long time. I've said that before. I don't think she'll be back until at least SummerSlam. If that. Probably not, but I could be completely wrong. But back to Ronda Rousey. They need some people. I mean, Charlotte's been gone for a while now. They have a lot of talent as it is, without Charlotte, Becky, and Ronda being around. But they're just not doing anything with them. They clearly see the other women as more of a priority. Charlotte should be back soon. Ronda, I think, could very well come back. Could you do Asuka and Rousey at WrestleMania? Absolutely. The problem is, as good of a match as that could be, Asuka means absolutely nothing right now. She's been champion for most of the year, but as a match on paper, it doesn't really mean anything because she's been a complete afterthought for a while. So they got to figure something out with her where, they have to rebuild her back up and make her important again in order to be positioned as a threat to Ronda Rousey, who has still never been beaten one-on-one. She got pinned at WrestleMania last year in that triple threat, but she never got pinned one-on-one. And you can play off of that if she comes back to face Asuka. So you said the Asuka and Shayna feud, could that lead to Ronda Rousey coming back? Yeah, maybe. But the fact that Shayna just got pinned by fucking Lana gives me the idea that they're probably not going in that direction. I feel like if we were going to get Asuka and Shayna, we would have gotten it by now. And we could get a scenario like last year where, like at TLC last year, we had Asuka and Asuka and Kairi Sane as the Kabuki Warriors against Charlotte and Becky for the tag titles. Kabuki Warriors won, and that led to Asuka and Becky at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. We could get something similar where Shayna and Nia retain their tag titles against Asuka and Lana, and that's what leads into Shayna and Asuka. I heavily doubt it, though, because I just don't think they see Shayna as being in that role, as being a Raw Women's Championship contender anymore. I feel like they see her a step below that. And I could be completely wrong, and I hope I am. I just don't think that's the case. So I think that'd be perfect. We get Asuka, Shayna at Royal Rumble. I mean, Shayna would have to win, but the issue is that she probably wouldn't if Ronda Rousey's coming back, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, that would be cool. I think from a storyline standpoint, that would make perfect sense. Will they do it? Probably not. RJ's second question. Does AEW need to move away from the 50-50 style matches and not 50-50 booking, but every match being 10-plus minutes and back and forth? It seems like it's hard to get over when everyone goes 10 minutes with everyone. That's been a big criticism from himself, from RJ, from myself, from a lot of people, I think. Maybe not the vast majority, but I've seen Cornette say that, and Cornette says a lot of dumb stuff, but that is one thing I do agree with him on, in that it just makes no sense for all these matches, especially on Dark, and, they've done a better job of it lately, but, not every fucking match has to be 20 minutes, because it makes everyone look like they're on the same level. Newsflash, some people are not going to be in the same level as other people. Kenny Omega, for example, should not be going 10 minutes or 15 minutes with QT Marshall. It's a fucking joke. He should beat him within minutes. Like when he beat Sonny Kiss in 30 seconds, I thought that was perfect. Sonny Kiss is good, very athletic. There is no reason for Sonny Kiss to go 15 minutes with Kenny Omega. Maybe sometimes, sometimes like when Ricky Starks debuted and went a while with Cody. I mean, honestly, it didn't go long enough, but in the open challenge, I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool. You don't do that with everyone. Not everyone's going to be a future star. And that's when you get into an issue like with WWE, and they do it for different reasons, where if everyone goes 10 minutes with everyone, then no one feels special. That's why for a while Kenny Omega never felt special, because he was just on the same level as everyone else. Sometimes you need to do shorter squashes with the bigger people beating the little people, so it makes those bigger people feel that much more important. And again, I feel like they've done a better job of the whole 50-50 thing lately. I haven't complained too much about that lately, but it has been one of my big criticisms of the company since they started, because I feel like specifically on Dynamite, they do that a lot, where the matches always have to go 15 minutes, or the pay-per-view matches always have to go 15 minutes. Newsflash, they fucking don't. Not every match has to be an instant classic. Listen, I love wrestling. I love watching the matches, but not every match has to be 15 minutes. It's just complete ridiculousness. When the Young Bucks go, I mean, they went a wild top flight. They wanted to make them look good. That's fine. But, like, you can't go 15 minutes with every tag team, because then it's just, like, it makes those standout showings from the teams that do go a while with the Young Bucks feel less impressive. Scarlett 1, I think we're going to finish off with their 2 questions here. Yeah, we will. Starting with their first one, best and worst of the Wednesday Night Wars from last week. I thought both shows were actually pretty good. I enjoyed both shows, pre-Thanksgiving shows. I thought the Hybrid 2 and Top Flight had a fun match. Inner Circle and SCU was very cool to see Jericho in there with Christopher Daniels for the first time. And next week, or this week actually, we're getting Jericho and Frankie Kazarian for the first time one-on-one, which is pretty cool. The Powerhouse Hobbs squash was what it was. The Taz Cody segment I didn't love, but, it was what it was. Again, John Silver and Hangman Page is probably exactly what RJ's talking about. Not everyone should go 15 minutes with everyone. John Silver, though, was really good, and they're trying to build the guy up. So I'm almost okay with the fact that that match went a while. But you can't do that with everyone. Like, Adam Page should not be going 15 minutes with fucking Evil Uno like he did a couple of weeks ago. Like, that I think is dumb. But I enjoyed that opening match. The contract signing never got started, but, it effectively built up next week's, or rather, I keep saying next week, this week's World Championship match. Sheeta and Anna Jay was fine for what it was. Butcher and Blade versus Pac and Phoenix in the main event was good too. So, very effective in building up this huge Winter is Coming episode of Dynamite tonight. And then for NXT, I enjoyed Candice and Ember Moon. I thought they had a really, really good opening match. The Undisputed Era promo was a hot promo, good comeback promo from Undisputed Era. Kushida, Timothy Thatcher, very well wrestled match. The KO show was good. Honestly, it was better than KO being on commentary, which was very disappointing. It was cool to see him back on the brand, but he did not stand out at all. And maybe that was the point, but it just felt like he didn't give a fuck, honestly, when he was on commentary. But I thought the KO show with Ruff, Gargano, and Priest was good. Grimes and Atlas was exactly what it should have been. The women's segment with LeRae, Toni Storm, Dakota Kai attacking and Raquel attacking Rhea Ripley, kind of establishing the War Games match was perfect. I thought that was really well done. We got the return of grizzled young vets. Fucking love those guys. Very happy to see them back. And the ladder match was fucking wild between Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly to earn the War Games advantage. So, 2 good shows. I'm looking forward to tonight. Again, I go back and forth as far as what shows I watch first. Obviously, it's Dynamite night tonight. You got to watch the Winter is Coming episode. I'm not even sure what they announced for tonight's NXT. I think they announced Raquel and Shotzi maybe in a ladder match. I think. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm watching Dynamite. It's not even close. And then the final question that I've got a couple of questions about, actually. Have you heard about the revival, also from Scarlet One? Have you heard about the revival of WCW? I have. So they copied the tweet here from a Twitter account named @WCW_2021. They put out a tweet a couple of days ago saying that WCW was getting rebooted. I mean, obviously the first thing you think of is that WWE owns the company. So how the fuck could they possibly reboot a company that is currently in possession of WWE? That makes absolutely no sense. But they're claiming to be bringing back WCW, and they put it out in like a press release on Twitter, which is even weirder. Like to announce the return of this major company we haven't seen in 2 decades on fucking Twitter. So that was, strange enough. But they put out this whole press release saying, I'll read part of it. It says, earlier this morning, an announcement was made on our Twitter account that we were bringing back the once popular promotion, that being WCW, on October 10th, 2021, via Skystorm Productions. Unfortunately, the reception was met with a lot of mixed and negative reception, all you fucking think. Online, as many people believed that we did not have any rights to the original WCW and thought this was a hoax, which led to our original tweet being criticized. I'll read this next one, and then I'll kind of just go on from there. But the next paragraph said, we want to ensure fans of the upcoming WCW reboot that we do in fact have rights to the original property. However, World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, told us that we can have only 50% of the original WCW. What does that even fucking mean? But they said 50% of the original WCW, meaning that we can have the rights to some of the logos, pay-per-views, merchandise, and character names. I mean, this just sounds like a giant joke. I'm shocked that, no companies, no wrestling websites, no credible anything like Fightful. I don't think any reputable websites have picked up on this because they shouldn't. It's a fucking joke. I mean, first of all, we should not get a revival of WCW. Just put it to a rest. What is Skystorm Productions? Is this some sort of channel? Maybe we're all stupid and it actually is legit. And it's going to become the next big thing. We already have AEW. We already have WWE. There's what talent is there to choose from in terms of who's on the free agency? We can't be bringing back shit. You got to move fucking forward. Listen, there's a lot of things about that original WCW that I like. The original ECW. Listen, like bringing back Halloween Havoc, I thought was great. Under no circumstance should WCW ever be rebranded, brought back, whatever. The NWA never really went away, so that's kind of the exception. But, like, you can't be bringing back shit as, like, we've moved on from this. We've moved on from WCW. Leave it in the fucking past. If you want to start a new promotion, start your own little promotion that goes absolutely nowhere. But announcing it in a tweet, and the funny thing about this, too, is that the tweet that I just read with the press release, the comments are turned off. Only people that the Twitter account mentioned can reply, meaning nobody. And people have quote tweeted it, obviously. But man, this is just amazing. So I don't know what the fuck's going on here. I really don't. It says here at the bottom of the press release they're having their first show on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch next October. Why would you even announce a show like that a year in advance in the middle of a fucking pandemic? That makes absolutely no sense. I feel like this is like an e-fed, an online thing, like, a fake promotion. Is this even a real, like, it can't be a real thing. It can't be. Under what circumstance would WWE let anyone reboot WCW? Oh, we own 50%. What the fuck does that even mean? They own WCW. They were just fighting with Cody about a number of their pay-per-view names. Why would they just let the initials go? Some random promotion. That just makes no sense. This can't be real. It can't be. I know it was December 1st yesterday. Maybe they thought it was April 1st. I don't know. Maybe they're 8 months late. But there's no way this can be legitimate. I mean, I guess it's gotten so much feedback online and so many people are talking about it that it's obviously struck a chord with a lot of people. And the fact that I'm talking about it too, I guess means there's something to it. But I just feel like it's just a giant crop of bullshit, to be honest with you. I don't know. I just thought that was really bizarre. I saw that original tweet yesterday or the day before. Something about it seems really fishy and sketchy. The fact that people are already asking this guy Alexander Fox for jobs is even worse. They're asking this guy for a job for a promotion that doesn't even exist currently. That hasn't existed in 20 years. Let's move the fuck on. If you want to start your own little wrestling promotion, that's cute. Air it on Twitch, that's fine. But to be calling it WCW is just a giant joke. I mean, no one is going to take you seriously. Just stop. Even if it is legit and the guy actually is starting a new promotion and it is called World Championship Wrestling, same logo and everything, just stop. Just stop. It's probably more likely not going to work. And I've already given it more attention than I probably should have. So that's it, guys. That's going to do it for episode 366 here today of #AskGSM for the very first episode of the show in the month of December. We will be back next week, of course, with another new episode. If you want to send in questions to the show, please do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post that I forgot last night, but hopefully next week, usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself, as I mentioned earlier. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Final time, one more cheap plug for the 2020 WWE, NXT, AEW Year in Review Awards. Open now, the 8th annual Year in Review Awards, open right now on WrestleRant.com. Go to the homepage. You can go to the Year in Review or the Week in Review section at the top of the website. And then if you click on that, the year in review awards will pop down as a pop-down, click-down menu, whatever. But it's also in the homepage itself. If you scroll right below where all like the previews of the articles on the website are, like where that is, right below it is the link to the awards. So vote. You can only vote once in each category. The results, you can't see them after you vote, but they will be available at the end of the month on WrestleRant Radio, December 31st, the final episode in the year of 2020 before we thankfully ring in 2021. And then another thing, too, when you vote in the polls, I know when you go to the website, there are so many polls, it just takes a lot for the polls to load and shit. You got to wait a couple seconds. When you go to the page, it looks like there's nothing there. You got to wait maybe I would say like 5 seconds, and they should pop up at that point. So vote in each category. There's a lot of categories. I appreciate it, and we will talk about the results on WrestleRant Radio at the end of the month on New Year's Eve. So with all that being said, guys, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the month of December. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, all that great stuff. Enjoy the month, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.